Hey, welcome back to Trek on the Tube, and welcome back to another review and Easter eggs video for Star Trek Discovery. This time we're talking about Season 4, Episode 4. What's it called? God damn it. All is possible. Don't mind the background noises. Wife on the tube and baby on the tube are home for the holiday season, so yeah, there's things going on in the background. Anyway, boy oh boy, is there a lot to talk about. Starting with the fact that this episode felt like an episode of Star Trek. Of course, don't take this the wrong way. As I've said multiple times before, I'm not a Discovery hater. Sometimes I do disagree with the decisions and choices that Discovery and its creative team bring to the screen, and yeah, it's my least favorite Star Trek, but regardless, there's no denying that the show is Star Trek. Doing so, dismissing and just denying that Discovery is Star Trek, in my opinion, is just childish. I mean, come on. That being said, however, sometimes the show doesn't feel like it's Star Trek, and I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but you'll get why I'm saying all this in just a bit. The thing is, Discovery wanted to re-envision everything from species aesthetics to the technology that everyone uses in universe, and they even tried to change up the way the stories were told, which I guess could worked, and has worked at times, but we've all talked about this many times already. Discovery has had some missteps over the years. There was some bizarre story executions, also the way the characters interact and how missions unfold always seem ever so slightly amateurish compared to older iterations. Not to mention the darker tone and darker color palette. Just generally speaking, Discovery has always had its own vibe, a vibe that at times has clashed with the rest of the franchise. Now, your opinion is your opinion, and whether or not you think that that clash is good, not good, a lot of people have actually said that it was something very good for the franchise. It managed to actually pull us into something, I guess, new and different, pull us into a new era. Other people said that it shouldn't have been, it was terrible, blah 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 blah. Regardless, that clash existed. This episode, however, didn't clash with anything in the franchise. On the contrary, it worked fantastically well. Yes, the way it was written, the way it was directed, yes, the general aesthetics still are Discovery, and thus it doesn't exactly feel like the Star Trek you'd expect. It still has, that peculiar vibe that we were just mentioning. But the whole premise, or rather the two main plots that they put to screen, felt so Star Trek in spirit. Like, on one hand, you have these diplomatic conversations between what is now the Navarre government with the Federation Council. On the other hand, you have this interesting take on the classic story that is the shuttle stranded on a planet or moon with Tilly and a few cadets from the new Starfleet Academy working together. And that's without even mentioning the other background plots. So here's the thing. Yeah, this episode delivered a Discovery that still didn't exactly feel like the Star Trek, I guess we've come to love and expect. As in, it didn't necessarily conform with what our brains have normalized Star Trek into. But this time, that's not criticism. It would be if the story that they told wasn't good, but considering it was good, this difference in vibe that the episode brought didn't feel alienating. Rather, it came across how Lower Decks' vibe comes across. Different, unique, and yet still adaptable enough to take part in the grander universe that it's set in. Am I the only one that kind of sees the nuance here, or do you guys get what I'm trying to say? It's like Discovery tried to completely reinvent the wheel, but Lower Decks didn't reinvent the wheel. It simply, I guess, adapted the wheel because the vehicles were getting bigger, heavier. The vehicles have to carry more baggage, so you need different wheels, stronger, more solid wheels, but the initial design isn't completely changed. Discovery took away the wheels and went with tracks instead. But yeah, this episode didn't do that. This episode felt more like how Lower Decks is adapting its uniqueness to the franchise. And look, I know this is all very subjective. What I'm trying to describe here are simply emotions and feelings that I have inside me, but I do feel like there are enough people out there that share these sentiments to justify taking the time to voice them here. I haven't done an intro like that in a bit of a while. Actually, that was nice. I trust you understand by now that All Is Possible is an episode that I enjoyed very much. Maybe that wasn't clear, but yeah, I really liked it. It balanced the fact it's Discovery with the fact it's Star Trek admirably well, all the while furthering character stories and exploring this new far future setting that they are now in. Finally, you know? Admittedly, this whole analysis intro was kind of my way of stalling, because I don't really know which of the two stories I should start talking about first. I mean, there's a lot to go over, but yeah, I mean, for all the problems that Discovery has, let me just say for the record that what frustrates me the most about it is the wasted potential. Very rarely am I mad just because it's all shit. If something is all shit, like, I don't know, the first Venom, why fucking bother even caring about it? But if it's reaching and full of potential, like Birds of Prey say, then it's disheartening when the final result isn't quite as good as it could be. Okay, I'm sorry, I went off on another tangent, and I shouldn't really be using this episode as a way to reflect on the show as a whole. I kind of feel like I'm taking away from the episode itself. On the other hand, one could argue it's the fact that this episode stood out so much that made me consider just how well it worked. Anyway, Tilly and the cadets. Tilly and Kovich, Tilly and Burnham, Tilly and Saru, Tilly leaving her permanent position on the Discovery? Yeah, I think we'll start with that. For starters, let's just establish that I'm not a fan of the character, and, you know, the acting isn't always top-notch when it comes to Tilly. I think this is due to the complexity of the character, because, no, Tilly is not just some quirky young ensign that's really smart but kind of socially awkward. There's so much more to her. So much, in fact, that I've come to notice both the people that write her and Mary Wiseman herself sometimes have trouble bringing the correct, I guess, story beat or character moment into the fold. Here, however, absolutely everything about Tilly was impeccable. Not only did we actually experience her grow, change, and mature as a person and as an officer, but we also witnessed that development blossom into one of the most realistic and heartwarming career decisions on this show to date. You know, look, Tilly wasn't cut out to be captain. I mean, certainly not at this time, no, but I don't think she ever would have made a great captain. Not that she wouldn't have been capable, more that she wouldn't have enjoyed it. Like, it's not something that would have worked well with her personality, I think. You see, Tilly loves to help, she loves to solve problems, she loves to save lives, discover new things, she loves the power of math, but it's just not like her to blow up a ship. You know, of course, I'm not saying other captains enjoy doing that, but perhaps they would be able to rationalize the act a little better than her. We're not all cut out for making those hard decisions and, you know, those hard calls. But anyway, my point is, her journey of self-discovery and eventual realization that her desire to be captain is now gone were fascinating to me, and it was actually quite nice to be a part of. And this whole idea of her being a teacher, I mean, it makes so much sense. And of course, the rest too was really good. Her scenes with Saru, Burnham, and Kovich worked really well, although the Burnham one was perhaps a bit long, but hey, look, it was a goodbye, so I guess it deserved to be a little long. Everything cadet related was, you know, so heartfelt. Even her comedic moments actually delivered comedy. Like, I chuckled at a Tilly thing. I don't think I've ever done that before. Or at least, you know, very rarely. Yeah. I mean, what more is there to say than it was an excellently executed send-off for the character. It was both the character being written and the actor acting at their best. Now, before we actually move on to the political part of the plot, and while we're still talking about Tilly, I wanted to, I guess, address the mission itself just a bit before we move on. The first thing that I noticed, it absolutely smacked me in the face, was that they had an Orion with them. And that was very, very confusing and interesting to me, considering last season had spent so much time developing the Orion's kind of impact and power and influence within the Emerald Chain. And I'll admit it, I'm a terrible person, because I just assumed Discovery would not address that at all. I assumed they were going to completely ignore that, and the only reason why we had an Orion within the cadets is just because, I don't know, they had extra paint lying around, or they already knew how to do the makeup, and they just weren't bothered trying to do something new. But I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought they didn't really give a shit about the in-universe implications, but no, the Orion's presence was actually a pretty fleshed out element in the episode. I mean, granted, the complexity level of the resentment between him and the Tellarite were pretty low, but it was all worth it because the resolution, or rather the payoff, was quite impactful. I mean, for a show that synthesizes emotion in every second scene we get, be it with forced crying, or out-of-the-place clapping, or even heavy-handed music, this moment was, to my great surprise and pleasure, competently executed. All the acting was really good, and not just from those two that were at odds. All the cadets did very well. I enjoyed the whole, are we in a simulation, hard cutting to the shuttle exterior shot. I mean, my only complaint would really be the monster. You know, yeah, it wasn't very creative or visually interesting. The CG was, I guess, passable, though it clearly needed more work. And I mean, simply its entire presence, I feel, robbed us of a few other more inspired story beats the cadets could have been a part of. You know, problem solving, teamwork, all in STEM-related moments. Not only was it a nice little group of characters, but I felt like all of these young actors had good chemistry together. Like, their scenes worked particularly well. I think it would have been interesting to dive a little more into, I guess, their interpersonal relationships and having them work together rather than having them, I guess, run across just big snowy plains with a CG creature coming at them. Overall, though, great stuff. Very much enjoyed the emphasis made on communication and understanding one another. Which transitions us well into the conversations that took place on Ni'Var. As it turns out, not everyone was a fan of the whole politics aspect, but I loved it very much. Negotiations, compromises, clever solutions to tense situations. I think it's great. I mean, yeah, not everyone likes it in Star Wars too, but Star Wars is a different thing. I think it's better suited for what Star Trek is. And by the prophets, was I trying to come up with a solution before Burnham proposed her own. I was just raking my brain there trying to find something. Her solution was really good, actually. I mean, of course, she had to make herself the center of that solution once again. Like, she knows both Vulcan and human culture. Bullshit! You know nothing of what humans have been through over these past 1,000 years, and you don't know anything about Ni'Var culture. Like, you lived on Vulcan 1,000 years ago, so maybe you know something about Vulcan exclusive society, but yeah, like, you didn't even know Romulans existed back then, let alone how they would blend and culturally integrate with Vulcans. So yeah, I call bullshit on that. She doesn't know anything. But anyway, the plan itself, the idea itself was really good. Yeah, the committee is clever. It's nice to have this kind of stuff, exploring the inner workings of these big powers we see on screen. I appreciate the lore building. Also, visually speaking, everything Ni'Var was beautiful. The Grand Hall, those costumes too, just wow. Some final remarks would be that the opening captain's log was nice, yet another element that made the episode feel more Star Trek. There's no better way to deliver an exposition dump than with a captain's log. It's Star Trek tradition. Kolba was clearly born to be ship's counselor. His scenes were phenomenal. Cruz is a fantastic actor. His moments with Book were really good too. I mean, really deep. So yeah, I congratulate him. Gray. Look, I'm sorry, but Gray saying all you need to do is walk into a room and say hello in order to make new friends feels more alien to me than actual aliens on screen. But hey, everyone does things differently. Based on what we've seen of the Trill people in the past, like Jadzia Dax being the biggest example, I kind of get the vibe that they're not really introverts. Kind of like an extrovert people, you know. Generally speaking, I feel like they're quite comfortable addressing large crowds or making friends. But yeah, I mean, that's just the impression I get. Yeah, that's about it. The music worked well. I mean, it wasn't too in your face. There was good world building, some interesting setup. The directing was fine. Overall, it was a very good episode. Very happy. They doubled down on the whole concept of sense of belonging, you know, for Saru, for Tilly, for Kolba, for Book. It all seems to be working towards conclusions for various characters, but also also it embraces the name of the show, Discovery. Being truly, really, they're making it about self-discovery, self-understanding, and it's refreshing to have overarching plots that involve people's growth rather than the galaxy's end. So yeah, big thumbs up for the episode. I'm sorry that I have to constantly kind of talk about how the rest of the show or the rest of the season isn't my cup of tea, but I like to really contrast I guess that with how good episodes are when they come out really good. I really enjoyed this episode, and yeah, I like to contrast that. So yeah, all right, Easter eggs and references. Let's jump right in. Starting with a non-Star Trek Easter egg. Yes, that's right. We got a Star Wars transition wipe right here. So fun. Apparently, this is the second that our beloved franchise has done, but I couldn't tell you where the first one is. But yeah, Star Wars transition wipe. Moving along, we hear about astrometrics. This is a part of Starfleet vessels shown in the Next Generation movies and further explored in Voyager with 7 of 9. The moon they crash onto is classified as Class L. Much like Class M, this classification has been mentioned many times before in the franchise. Some more abstract references would again be the boss setting. That last time felt quite Deep Space Nine, only this time it has a mad Next Generation vibe. In part because people were playing poker in there, but also because, if I'm not mistaken, it's actually called Forward 10. I mean, come on. That has to be a reference to the Next Generation's 10 Forward. It's called Forward Lounge, you idiot, not Forward 10. God damn it. Yeah, okay, Forward Lounge. Sorry there, Cannon Cop. Next up is Saru putting salt in his tea, like in Season 1. And then there's all these Vulcan gongs and Kasharas that have been, heavily part of the Vulcan aesthetic over the years. Finally, we hear mention of someone called Imahara. I'm assuming this is in honor of Grant Imahara, this guy. Yes, the man from Mythbusters, but also he's known for playing Sulu in the Star Trek Continues show on YouTube. He passed away not long ago, so I think that was a nice touch. I think that was a little reference to him there. And finally, the Enterprise in a globe. I'm assuming it's the Enterprise. At the very least, it's an NX-01 for sure. But it makes sense for it to be the Enterprise. And in any case, it makes it a reference to Enterprise, the show. And there you go, that's all of it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, congratulations to the show for putting out this episode. It was great. Like, comment, share, subscribe, do all of those wonderful things. Season's greetings to you all. I'm sorry for being a little late, but as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, everyone's at home, so we're spending time with the family. A big thanks to the channel patrons, and shout out to the new one. Don't think I don't notice. I notice when someone new comes along. Yeah, live long and prosper, all my fine people.